Damon Bruce and Larry Krueger, the 49er Wake Up Crew, and we're not waking up with you. We're getting you ready for a little football this weekend. We got 49ers and Cleveland Browns, and Tony Grossi's been covering the Cleveland Browns for years. He's for the land. He is a man who knows the NFL very well, and we're very happy to have you on with us today. Tony, how are you?
Everything's great out here in Cleveland, so looking forward to the 49ers visit.
So let's start with the fact that it sounds like it's going to be a sloppy track. And when you put two good defenses underneath some bad weather, the element of anything can happen certainly comes into play. What kind of an afternoon does Cleveland look like it's going to get on Sunday?
I think it's going to be worse on Saturday, a lot wetter on Saturday. But you can't predict the weather here in Cleveland. So it'll probably be wet grounds at the very least. You just hope there's no rain during the game. The Browns' home opener was a horrendous weather day, and usually these are pretty good weather months. So anything can happen.
You know, one of the things that's kind of interesting about this matchup is we're going to see P.J. Walker, it sounds like. What do you think, Tony? I mean, Watson's got an injury. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I thought at times has looked really, really good. Are you surprised the Browns are going with P.J. Walker? How would you evaluate Walker versus DTR?
Yeah, well, the sad state of affairs here offensively is that P.J. Walker should be a quantum improvement over Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That was the poor kid's fifth-round rookie from UCLA. His first start comes against the Baltimore Ravens. He did not know he was even playing until an hour, 2.5 hours before the game when Watson opted out of that game. Although he took all the snaps during the week, he was not of the mindset, even going to the park, that he was going to play that morning. So this P.J. Walker's a veteran. You know, he's won 4 games as a starter for Carolina. Although he's new to the team, they didn't pick him up till August 30th after they traded Josh Dobbs to Arizona. I think it gives the team a little more comfort level with him being a veteran.
Is Kevin Stefanski, in a weird way, punting on this weekend? Is this we'll lose a battle to win a greater war? Deshaun coming out of a bye week, I thought he would be playing, but it feels like even with Deshaun, taking down the 49ers is going to be a big task. Is this a little bit of a penny wise, pound foolish decision?
No, they'd love to have Watson playing. Watson hasn't practiced in 3 weeks. He hasn't thrown a football competitively in 3 weeks. His bruised rotator cuff got worse as you know, after the game. His last game was Tennessee on September 24th, I think, and didn't even leave the game because of the injury. And actually, at the beginning of the following week, was not even on the injury report for the first day of practice. And then we saw him not throwing, and it's been that way ever since. So this is not they have not elected the punt. They're trying to kick a field goal, if anything.
This is a phenomenal defense. I've looked at the Browns, saw him a couple times earlier this year. Myles Garrett is playing as well as I've ever seen him play. Denzel Ward on the back end is just absolutely phenomenal. And when you look at Kyle Shanahan's record, Tony, against Jim Schwartz, he's only 1-8 against Schwartz. What has been the impact so far of Jim Schwartz? How do you expect this Browns defense to play against this 49er offense?
Yeah, that record's a little skewed. You know, the last time they faced each other, Schwartz was a consultant.
I think Tony might have frozen up a little bit there, Larry.
There we go.
Oh, no,
go ahead. You're back. You're back.
I was saying the only good team Shanahan had in this personal series was the 2016 Atlanta Falcons, who went on to go to the Super Bowl, and Matt Ryan was the MVP. That's the only comparison to what Schwartz is facing now. But the record is what he is. He at least he knows Shanahan's system inside out. But this is by far and away Shanahan's best personnel. So it's the Browns' only hope is that Schwartz's defense rises to the occasion and can keep the game close. the problem, and there's only one problem with the Browns defense, is they've only taken the ball away 3 times in 4 games. And, you guys know the 49ers are the stingiest team of all of giving it away. So in order to help this offense, which is really in a bad state, the defense has to, set up scores with turnovers, and they need a phenomenal game out of their special teams, which they haven't had yet. So it's a tall task, but I think the Browns defense will show up and keep the game competitive.
Tony Grossi, he is a Browns and NFL analyst for thelandondemand.com and all other precincts around the greater Cleveland area. Nice enough to join us here, getting us ready for 49ers and Browns. Tony, the game within the game, clearly Myles Garrett and Trent Brown, like a good old-fashioned left tackle, straight-up defensive end who lines up over left tackle, old-fashioned battle between these two. And it feels hard to assume that the Browns are going to take this game unless Myles Garrett has an absolutely bonkers game. And let's face it, Trent Williams is very much an antidote to defensive ends having bonkers games. Tell us a little bit more about Cleveland's defense, and if Garrett does have his hands full over there with maybe the best left tackle in football, where else is the problem going to come from with this very skilled defense?
Yeah, Jim Schwartz prides himself in having more than a one-man team up front. And if Trent Williams is equal to the task blocking Myles Garrett, and he looked to that against Micah Parsons for sure. The other end, Zadarius Smith, to come through, they sometimes move him inside and then add another end named Obo Okanankwo, who's a very small but very quick defensive end. They're getting some pressure from former 49er Maurice Hurst, who's played well and is staying healthy. But Garrett, it's not a one-man team, although Garrett's reputation is what it is. So Schwartz wants other players involved, and he brings them in waves. There's another line after these guys. So and they'll move Garrett around too. He's moved inside. He's moved to the left side. So he could go up against the Niners right tackle on occasion too. So that is a chess match there. Everything to do with the Browns defense starts up front with the way Schwartz manipulates those guys.
We got somebody in the chat who says, Captain Insano says, yo, Tony, hello, all the way from Sandusky, Ohio, a 49er fan there in Ohio.
It's the roller coaster capital of America, Sandusky.
Is it? Sandusky?
Right there, absolutely.
Yeah. Big time of year, Halloween too. Big time of year at Cedar Point. Yeah.
I got to ask you about the Browns' offensive line. I've always been a fan of Joel Bitonio, the left guard. He's out. Or from what I'm reading at least. And that means that they're going to struggle probably against Javon Hargrave. And then the center, the former Seattle Seahawk, is a Posich. Is he going to go? And then I heard that the Browns are somewhat disappointed in the way Jedrick Wills, the former Alabama left tackle, is come on. And then you got Dawan Jones, who's a rookie 4th-round pick, who's a behemoth at right tackle. Do you expect this Browns offensive line to struggle mightily in this game? How do you think they're going to look?
Yeah, well, you pointed out all the problems. First with Bitonio, he had a streak of 102 straight games. He's an All-Pro. He will not play in this game. Been ruled out. His backup is a guy named Michael Dunn, who's a serviceable backup who can spot start and handle himself okay. He's no All-Pro. Jedrick Wills, the left tackle, has struggled. Be interesting to see, what if the 49ers move Nick Bosa over there. Dawan Jones, the big Ohio State guy, has held his own. He's huge, but he's held his own, although running has been a problem. Run block. This team had a tremendous run system that's been disrupted by a lot of things. The first was Nick Chubb being out for the year. The second is this inconsistency at quarterback now has discombobulated everything. And now you have injuries hitting the offensive line. So it's far from the number 5th rushing team that it is statistically right now. So, yeah, I think the offensive line is going to struggle, especially now breaking in a quarterback. This quarterback hasn't played with the first team until Wednesday of this week, first time. He's been the scout team quarterback. So that's got to affect the offensive line also.
Questions at quarterback, questions at offensive line, a hell of a defense. There is no debating that. But as you look at this and you weigh these two fighters against each other, Tony, how do the Browns do it? How do they walk out of this game with a win?
They need a perfect complementary game, and that involves the defense playing outstanding, setting up scoring opportunities, finally getting some turnovers, which sounds impossible against San Francisco right now, but that's their task. The offense has to play conservative. You can't expect PJ Walker to take shot plays, at San Francisco. They got to be patient. They have to turn it into an ugly game offensively. They have to play field position, be okay with punting the ball, and then defending Brock Purdy, inside his own 10-yard line. If that has to happen all day, you got to do it. And Bubba Ventrone's special teams has to, reincarnate the Brad Seeley years. You guys know him. Do something on special teams to affect the momentum of the game. So it's going to take a concerted effort by all three phases, and it's a huge task. There's no question about it.
Tony, where are you from originally? Did you grow up in the Cleveland market?
I did, yes. Been here.
So you've been there for a long time. I got to ask you, because you guys have two players there that absolutely would never fly in San Francisco: Kareem Hunt and Deshaun Watson. And I know it's a very passionate football market, but those guys, if the 49ers tried to add either one of those guys, there would be people with signs, up and down the sidewalk saying, no, 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 and then no some more. What has been the reaction to the fan, by their, obviously Hunt was there, now he's back. Watson's problems are well documented. What was the reaction to their additions, and how would you describe that market and how those two players have been received?
First of all, Kareem Hunt is a local kid. He grew up here in Willoughby, Ohio, which is 20 minutes east of downtown Cleveland. So he's always gotten the benefit of the doubt. And since he came here originally during the John Dorsey years as GM, he's pretty much behaved, let's put it that way, and contributed. So now he's back because they need him again. So that's different. Watson, no question, that acquisition polarized the fan base, and because Watson hasn't been able to be himself on the field yet, it's still very polarized. The loyal Browns fans say, "Hurrah! We finally got a franchise quarterback," and the other side of the fan base says, "I'll never follow him again. This is ridiculous." But they'll be won over if he ever becomes the old Deshaun Watson. And his last game he played was against Tennessee, and to me, he showed some semblance of that former player. And I said at the time, he needs to stack games like that before he wins people over. He just hasn't been back on the field since then. So, I don't know when he finally gets back on the field, are we going to go through another period of rust? After last year, he hadn't played in 700 days, so that was the excuse for 6 bad games. But the image of that one game got everyone a little perked up a little bit. Okay, I can deal with this if he could keep playing like that.
Tony, final question from me. As you've gotten ready to cover the game this weekend, I'm sure you've turned your attention to the 49ers and some of the finer things that they've done. They've been quite the belle of the ball in the national discussion, certainly with the Brock Purdy origin story. It's like a Disney movie. What are your impressions of the Niners here through 5 weeks? They've been pretty impressive from where we're standing. I'd like to know what you think.
Yeah, I think they're awesome. I think right now they're the best team. The teams in the NFC, on their heels. The Eagles haven't peaked. The Lions are an unknown quantity, getting better. But you wonder how much better can the 49ers be than they are right now. And that's fine. If they're not any better, they're good enough to be in the Super Bowl. The thing that I don't know if it crosses anyone's mind out there, but there's always a major injury that derails their season, it seems. Last time it took it to the title game. Other times it's been Jimmy G, at some point in the season. If he has the luck, if Shanahan has the luck of staying healthy mostly this year, they're awesome. They're definitely the favorites to win it all. And we know Kyle. He was here one year and did wonders with a quarterback named Brian Hoyer. He produced his best year until that thing fell apart, till he faded. So I'm rooting for Kyle because we know he's had some tough losses in his career. So they look awesome. I just hopefully they'll have good health, and you'll see the true Kyle Shanahan team throughout the whole year.
Tony, we really do appreciate your time. I got one last one for you as well. If the 49ers do win this game, the Browns will have lost, 3 out of 4, and the trade deadline coming up at the end of the month. How do you think Andrew Berry is going to react if the 49ers win this game decisively? The Browns have some very attractive players that would be very attractive players to other teams. And they're foundation piece players, but guys like Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward, I mean, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, almost anybody on that front line. They're really good on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. If the Niners win this game decisively, the Browns' schedule is not that tough, so they could, and it's early in the year. But will Barry pivot and become a seller at the deadline? If and who do you think he would move if that were the case, or is that absolutely a ridiculous idea there and it's not being discussed and they're not thinking along those lines?
Pretty much the latter point. They are not in rebuild or selling mode. They lose this game. It's an NFC game. It doesn't hurt as much as an AFC game in tiebreaker situations. They're still within reach in their division. They'd be 2-3, but they're 1-2 in their division. That I've said all along, the shortest path for them to the playoffs is winning their division, and don't worry about AFC tiebreakers. So they still have 3 games in their division, and the key one is November against Baltimore. So no, this was not a let's see what happens year. This was a playoff or bust year. So he's not in a selling mood, and he's really not in a buying mood, because there's not one position where you could point to and say, if we only had this, we'd be there. I mean, he was one of the most active GMs in the whole off season. So they have what they have. They've made their bed. They got to sleep in it now and hope Watson gets back as soon as next week.
Tony, when's the last time you allowed yourself to be strapped into one of those Cedar Point roller coasters?
Yeah, it was a few years ago. My bones got rattled enough, and I'm a little too old for those. But it's a great place. It
really is. But roller coaster technology is straight up scary these days. It really is. Tony, thank you very much for joining us. It was great to pick your mind about this matchup, and have yourself a great weekend. Thank you.
All right, tell your boys to take it easy on these guys.
Thanks again, Tony.
All right, take care, guys.
Have a great day. Tony Grossi, 850 ESPN. And as Damon just said, Browns analyst, NFL analyst for The Land, thelandondemand.com. And I forgot to mention to him his avatar on Twitter is a golden retriever. I also have a golden retriever. We share that in common. What do you think, Damon? Interesting segment. It's I'm not 100% sure what to expect in this matchup, because the Browns do have really a defense that is rugged and is really good on all 3 levels and has some of the NFL's most spectacular players. I think Denzel Ward is as good as almost any corner in the game right now, and I would say the exact same thing about Myles Garrett. So if you said to me, what are you envisioning for the game, I would say take the under. I would say if I was going to wager on it, I think I would tease the Niners and the under and play that. That to me is, I think it could be messy weather. I could see the Niners struggle a little bit at times with this defense, but I also can't really picture the Browns offense doing much. Again, I don't see Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, or Pierre Strong running it. I don't see P.J. Walker, carving them up with passes all day. I mean, it would take a monster effort from Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore to make this close. I kind of like the Niners on the teaser to the under.
So I thought that the most valuable piece of information that Tony shared with us was just how banged up that Cleveland offensive line was. I knew that they were banged up. I didn't realize it was that bad. And they're already waving away some questionables into outs in Tony's mind, which means the day just got a little bit easier for the 49ers. If the 49ers defensive line has an easier path to a backup quarterback than the Cleveland Browns defensive line has a path to Brock Purdy, I like their chances, Larry. I mean, I think I just changed my mind from it's going to be an ugly brass knuckle type of game. And when you got a really good defense on a sloppy track, that equals anything can happen. Plus, you got the entire world saying that the Niners should win this easily. And another, like, my ears go up and I think fade the public. You know, if everyone's feeling that way, the opposite can happen. But with those offensive line problems, I like the Niners. The Niners should win this game loud. They're looking at a backup quarterback, an offense that is struggling, an offense that has lost their best offensive lineman, their best running back, their best quarterback. I mean, eventually these injuries start mounting on top of each other. And the only way the Cleveland Browns win this game is if that piano falling out of the sky that Tony was talking about were to happen. And all of a sudden, I don't even want to say it out loud, Brock's not available. Christian McCaffrey's unavailable. Something bad happened to the overall team's health is the best way for the Browns to be in this game. A healthy Niner team wins this game.
The Browns have the number one defense statistically. They also have the number one pass defense. I think this is a run heavy game. I think this is the kind of game. One, because how does your season get ruined if you're the 49ers? Well, if Myles Garrett gets a running start at Brock Purdy, that's how your season gets ruined. If Zadarius Smith lights up Colton McKivitz, that's how your season gets ruined. I asked Colton yesterday in the locker room about the matchup with Zadarius, and he feels like he's got a good handle, Damon, on Smith's tendencies. Smith played with the Vikings last year. The Niners and the Vikings had those joint practices, and he said he's got a real good handle on all of his arsenal of moves just from practicing against him. He says it's better than just playing in a game or watching film. When you practice against a guy, you get a much better handle on it. So, but I would say the game plan, when you're looking at, I think Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome are the best three corners the Niners have gone against all year. And you couple that with Garrett and Zadarius and Shelby Harris, three really good pass rushers up front. And even Okonkwo, who we mentioned, the former Ram, I believe, he played at Oklahoma. He's an undersized speed edge rusher. So I just think that this is a game where the Niners are going to run the ball, and I think they're probably going to run it. I think you're going to see a lot of McCaffrey, but I think it's also a J.P. Mason game, especially coming off of that game last week where Mason kind of had his bust-out performance. So I think it's a big day for the 49ers running the football. I think they're going to probably the game plan will be to try to keep the ball out of the air, try to run it at the Browns. Don't kind of fall into that trap of, too many passes against, a team that has this kind of scary rushers and this kind of coverage on the back end. So we'll see. I mean, ultimately, it probably is going to come down to turnovers. But I expect the 49ers to run the ball, shorten the game, and for this to be kind of a low-scoring affair on kind of a cold, maybe rainy day in Cleveland, maybe a mucky field a little bit. I just can't picture the Browns. I think the Niners will score in the mid-20s or 30, and I think the Browns are going to score under 20. So I'm thinking like maybe 28-17, something like that. How does that sound for you? 28-13, something like that?
So you got Browns covering, right? Well, I mean, where is this right now? Is this at 14 yet? Is it at 14?
No, it's at 9.5.
It
It's at
has
9.5.
moved big. I thought for sure
Let
it'd
me
be over
check on-
10 after the
Let me check my
after the
Action
announcement that-
Network
yeah, get in
app
there.
here.
Get me a
Yeah,
live line, Larry Krueger.
Yeah, here's what we got. It's the spread is 49ers minus 9.5 with an over under of 36. So it's a really low over under.
Yeah.
They're expecting a really low total. So like if I was betting this thing, I would do Niners on a 7.5 point teaser, make it Niners minus 2, and then I would tease it up to from 36 to plus 7.5.
Right,
So
take the under.
yeah, and then take the under. I like the Niners minus 2 to the under.
Look,
Under 44, something like that.
If the day shows up and the Niners are controlling the game with their ground game, I just don't see how Cleveland is going to be in position to strike fast or often in any way with their offense. And I just don't think that they're going to be able to sustain these grinded out drives against the 49ers defense, because that's not who the 49ers are defensively right now. I think there are two matchups that are decisively now in the Niners' advantage. Niners offensive line is going to have a better day than the Cleveland Browns offensive line, and all games are won in the trenches. And I do think that there's an advantage at tight end too. I mean, David Njoku's good, but he's questionable, Larry, and I don't know if he's going to be state of the art. George Kittle's just coming off one of his best games in a Niner uniform. When you're looking at corners like Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward, I'm looking to attack the middle of the field, and that's George Kittle. So Kittle could be in line for another big afternoon, especially in a play action game where he really starts popping. And like you said, the ground game is going to be going for the Niners if things are going well. So it's funny. I really wanted to play the, being cautious going into this game. I really wanted to be on the, not a trap game, but just hey, that's a really good defense on a shitty day. Really good defenses on shitty days make all sorts of football plans blow up. That's what happens on a football field. But after just talking to Tony, I think the Browns are in trouble. I do, Larry. I think the Browns are a little bit in trouble. You got problems with your offensive line, and you got a backup quarterback, and you got a, let's hope it works out today, running back. You're in trouble against this team. So,
and Randy Gregory making his debut. I really believe Gregory's going to make an impact. Erwin Kwong has a couple in here. He says the weather for Niners Browns, it says will be 62.7 degrees. So the temperature's fine. Overcast, but 0% chance of rain.
That's not what I saw earlier today. Today I saw it was going to be 50s with scattered showers throughout the entire morning and into the afternoon, maybe clearing up later afternoon. But this is an early game, so I think it's going to be a wet ball.
Irwin also says the over-under opened at 42 and is now down to 36. So that's a lot of, that's a ton of movement on the total.
That's Vegas saying it's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be a sloppy game from a weather standpoint. And that's also Vegas telling you that we don't think the Browns are going to score anything.
Right.
I mean, if the Niners are good for 30, and they have been, they're averaging what, they're north of 30 in every game that they've played. For the over-under to be 36, they're basically saying we don't think the Cleveland Browns are going to score. They 9 points is what Vegas is saying right there.
It sounds like a 24-6. Like the Niners are not getting their 30, but the Browns aren't getting anything.
Right.
Something like that.
Hey, if that's what you're selling, I'll buy it twice right now. There's no such thing as a win you need to explain away in this league, even as good as things have gone for the 49ers. But Larry, it really is. It's not just who they are. It's the way the league is breaking around them. And you and I have been talking about this for a couple of weeks, either on each other's postgame shows or on 49ers Wake Up or on this little pregame that we've gotten arranged now for Friday afternoons. If you gave Kyle Shanahan a menu and said, okay, so for your next 2 weeks, you can eliminate 2 players that you're going to have to worry about. The 2 players that he would have eliminated would have been Deshaun Watson and Justin Jefferson. And the 49ers aren't going to see either. I mean, it's like hand-selected, tailor-make your opponent in terms of your wish list. So the things are breaking so well for the 49ers, and I just hope that they keep it up. The piano is going to fall. The safe is going to fall right out of the sky and hit Wile E. Coyote, and the Roadrunner is going to have to do the combination, open it up, and you see the lump on his head and the Tweety birds. It's coming from somewhere. It's coming from somewhere, but hopefully it doesn't happen in the next couple of weeks. I really think that without getting too far ahead of ourselves, there's a clear mission here, Larry. It's reach the bye at 8-0. Reach the bye at 8-0. You're 8-0. You sky's the limit. I mean, that's a beautiful number right there, going 8-0 to start a year.
You know, it's funny. I put out a tweet the other day. My 14-year-old said, "Dad, did you realize that the Niners?" And he shouted this out to me at the kitchen table. He's like, "Dad, the Niners got the Rams and they missed Cooper Kupp, and then they got the Giants and they missed Saquon, and then they got the Cardinals and they missed Budda Baker and Kyler. Then they got the Cowboys and they missed Trevon Diggs. Then they got the Browns. Now they're getting the Browns and they're going to miss Nick Chubb and Deshaun. And next week they're going to get the Vikings and they're going to miss out on Justin Jefferson." So I'm like, you know what? That is interesting. I mean, we're talking about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games
True
where
impact
the Niners,
players.
the real impact guys are missing out. So I tweeted this out. I said, I'm not saying that this is the reason the 49ers are undefeated, but it's worth noting that they're enjoying some good fortune injury-wise. And then I just listed all those injuries. And the tweet has gotten 97,000 views. And, there's so many people who have just been triggered by that and are just like, you're angering the fan base, and, you're Nick Wright, and, you're looking for engagements, and they've totally turned on me and are
Right.
mad that I brought this up. I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, to me, that is interesting. And and I know the Niners probably were going to beat these teams, especially when you look at the margin they've had. They were going to beat these teams for the most part, no matter what, whether they had these guys or not. I'm just saying, it is 6 games where they've missed basically the other team's best player or close to their best player. I'm not making excuses, but there's tons of people who are like, the Niners had tons of injuries and it's part of football. And it's like the triggered.
Right. You never said that wasn't part of football. Like, you weren't denying the existence going in the other direction. But no, well, first of all, people are pansies.
Fans can't handle negativity.
No, and you're not even trying to be negative. You're just pointing out facts and factualities. And the truth is, look, in the perfect world, everything would happen with everyone at 100%. But when you're trying to be a Super Bowl champion, you'll take all the breaks along the way of that happening. And That's what the 49ers, they need not apologize for anything. And the truth is, as you said, Larry, there's not one player in the handful of players that you just talked about that represents the difference in the final score of any of those games. I mean, the opponent has not been a player away from beating the 49ers in any game that they've played this year. But you have to look at these things. I would never try to subtract any element of greatness from the Steph Curry story, but it would be an incomplete story to not acknowledge that Kyrie and Kevin Love weren't around for that first title. The same way it would be ridiculous to say the Raptors beat the Warriors without bringing up the fact that Durant popped his Achilles and then Clay's knee went to paper machete in the last game of that series. Injuries change outcomes, so acknowledge them. Sometimes it works for you. Historically, for Kyle Shanahan with the Niners, it has worked against him. So maybe this is the cosmos breaking a little karma in his direction.
Iron Mafia, you're losing me as a fan.
Okay.
Why?
That's fine.
I guess. Fine. I mean,
that's fine.
You can't point anything out. I mean, I know fans are fanatics and this and that, but I mean, come on, guys. We can point that out and still not think. I mean, I'm not saying the 49ers would not be undefeated. I'm just saying that they've also been kind of fortunate in the way things have turned. And you know what? They have had their own bad injury luck at times. And heck, Tony even referenced it in our interview. So maybe this is just a little evening out of karma, that's gone against the Niners through the years. Maybe that's an indication, Damon, that this is the Niners' year. Maybe this is the year the Niners get that 6th Lombardi and put it in the trophy case. I was down in Santa Clara yesterday yesterday, and I did an interview with Guy McIntyre, and we happened to do it in the lobby of the practice facility, and that's where they house the Lombardis. And the Niners have 5 Lombardi trophies, and they're all in the lobby behind glass. And, they want that 6th one bad. And there's you were in training camp. There is a resolve and a determination this year and I've been covering this team for years. I just think that there's more determination, more focus, more passion, more everything to get it done right now. From the fans to Lynch to Shanahan to the players, they know. It's like 2019 when they went to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. They could have been a little bit ahead of schedule. The Harbaugh trip against the Ravens, I mean, they blew that, right? 1st and goal from the 5. They should have finished off the Ravens that day. They didn't. Stupid Harbaugh called a timeout at the most inopportune time with an old defense because he couldn't get a play called in time. Didn't hand the ball to Frank Gore. Didn't run Kaepernick. Threw fades to Crabtree. The Niners, should have won that Super Bowl. That should have been number 6. We were sitting right next to each other. We were sitting next to each other in the Superdome watching that one when the lights went out and came back on. That was the Niners Super Bowl to win, and they didn't get it. But this first one with Shanahan against the Chiefs, they might have been a little bit ahead of schedule because they had a young group, but now they really they're feeling the urgency to finish the deal. And I know, you want to have a balanced view of the world and say, hey, look, only one team wins it. And if you make it to the NFC title game, it's still been a good year. It's not a good year this year if the 49ers go to the NFC Championship game and lose. It's not a good year. So take that for what it is.
Take down Iron Mafia for his soft-bellied nature. I don't want to hear any of that. And again, Larry, these are things that you and I have talked about all the time. You can't fool a locker room full of players. A locker room full of players is one of the most honest things on earth. And one of the reasons why you feel that difference around the 49ers is because these players know this is our year. This is our time. We got a window. The window is officially 2 years. And since we can't worry about next year until we're done with this one, let's make this year the focus because the math model says it is now with Brock Purdy and everyone around him, or it is next year with Brock Purdy and everyone around him, because the year after that, Brock Purdy, if he keeps playing like this, is going to get a $450 million contract, Larry. So you better go ahead and get this done now while you got him on a blue light special, because those days are going to come to an end quickly. He keeps playing like this. So it's now. The team knows it. The coach knows it. And you can feel it. It's palpable. And here's the thing. I think some fans know it. There are definitely a whole bunch of Johnny-come-lately, just got here, you don't know nothing about football fans in this fan base. And there are also a whole bunch of crafty veterans who sat and watched the glory years and know what glory years kind of look and feel like as they're happening. And they're getting some nostalgia washing over them watching these Niners. It's the best 5-0 start I've seen this franchise have, and I've been covering them for 18 years. So
think about it. If you remembered 94, that means you had to be at least 5, right? So that means you had to be. So anybody born in the 90s, for the most part, has never. I mean, they know the Niners story. They know the stories of Joe and Steve and the championships, but they've never experienced it yet. We got this one in the chat.
And that's the thing. And they're not. There's nothing wrong with that. If you weren't around for the glory days, you can't know. And you do have to explain to people, like, look, Larry, you want to know something that you and I have in common from a sports standpoint? You you love the Niners, you root for the Niners, and you're looking at those 5 championships that you brag about with so much pride, but you can't help but admit those sons of bitches are getting dusty. They need a new one.
Yeah.
I look at Indiana's championship banners the exact same way. Those are 5 glorious banners that are sitting in Assembly Hall, but the last one says 1987 on it. And there's no one in here that remembers 1987 but me. So it's time. It's time.
The young Niner generation needs their Super Bowl. It's Vito, baby, says we need number 6. We're known to win Super Bowls, not lose them. I want to see my first championship ever. Vito, I get you, bro. I get you, and I feel you, too. It's like there's a passion from the fans. They've been to the Super Bowl. They've been to the playoffs. They've tasted, how close. It's bitter when you get close and don't get it.
Right. Everything but the sex. You've made out in the movie theater, over the pants, everything but this. It's time. It's time, Larry.
That is awesome. By the way, how much fun did we have in New Orleans? Did we have in New Orleans? Damon and I went to Cochon, which means pig, I guess, in French.
Look at you.
And we had fried alligator. We drank for days.
Larry, one of the best meals of my life, right? I mean, wasn't that delicious?
It was absolutely amazing. We had so much fun there.
I think it was you, me, the barista,
right?
And Mike Holler, I think, was along. Current KNBR program director Mike Holler.
We may have sparked something in a park. We may have drank heavily. I was doing a 9 a.m. to noon show, which, since we were in the central time zone, was 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. If that is absolutely the perfect time to be, if you have to be sober for a 3-hour window in the city of New Orleans during the Super Bowl, you want your work day to be from 11 to 2. Because then you can party all night. We seriously partied all night. We were checking into our hotel at 5 a.m.
And Larry, that was the last great.
We weren't even going out till 10.
It was the last great media row, because the year after that is when they started selling tickets to the public. And it's cool that the public can come in and see it, but that changes the dynamic of Radio Row dramatically. Instead of it being a convention, it turns into a massive shit show. And so we got like the last great media old school Super Bowl that, since it was in New Orleans, like they would just be walking around with trays of po' boys just to feed you at all times. I mean, it was fun, man. It was one of my favorite nights. And I think I'm not sure if you were with us or not, but I was wound up at Pat O'Brien's in that piano bar, and and Chris. Yes.
Well, Chris Townsend and I were in the back of the bar, and this might have been later in the night, and a fight breaks out. A huge brawl breaks out. And I grab one of the guys and kind of tackle him over to the side. Townsend grabs one of the guys. Cops run in there. I look at the guy. It's a 60-something-year-old guy fighting a 40-year-old guy. The cops go in there. The piano stops playing. The lights come on. All right, what's going on here? Break it up. They're about ready to drag the guy out. And it's a dad fighting his son. and they go to the dad, and they're like, they realize it's a father and son, and they go to the dad, and they're like, "Sir, the people here say that he started it. What should we do with your son?" And there's like, everybody's quiet. Everybody in this bar is looking. And I'm standing right there. We're all waiting on the old guy. And he looks at his son. He pauses dramatically. And he goes, "Arrest his fucking ass." And the dad told the cops to arrest the son. He's like, Dad. And he cuffed him and took him out. And the place started cheering. And then the guy started buying drinks for everybody. And his son's getting dragged away.
So you and I did.
That was epic.
So we did get to that piano bar, but I was not there with you last night. That night, I did not see that go down. The night that I was in the piano bar was just a huge, big sing along, and it was fun. But yeah, man, those hurricanes can start separating fathers and sons. They're so potent and powerful, and I did.
What a town New Orleans is.
That was
And
the
my
first
buddy,
time in New Orleans was great.
my buddy told me, he's like, hey man, they will gouge you during the Super Bowl, so you got to give them the New Orleans treatment. I said, what's the New Orleans treatment? He's like, no matter what price they give you on anything, repeat the price back to them and sound indignant, and then you'll get the real price. I mean, Damon, I did this 50 times. I was at the Hampton Inn staying there. I went down into the lobby. You'd figure at the Hampton Inn that, you know, the gift shop, they wouldn't be gouging you. I get a newspaper, a Coke, and some peanuts. And I'm on the phone. And the guy sees I'm on the phone, and he goes, "That's $23.50." And I go, "Hold on a second, $23.50?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, that's $3.50." And then I'm like, so, I mean, seriously, I did that the entire time I was there. That's 1975. 1975? Oh, that's 975. Sorry, sir. I mean, New Orleans is the closest that you'll get to a barter economy during a Super Bowl week.
And
I mean, what does it cost? It costs whatever they can get for it. You know, I mean,
what I also love about New Orleans is you have a hard time going to any town in America where the locals are more proud of their hometown and want to share with you the history of the bar or how their family got there. I love how friendly everyone in New Orleans seems. Maybe it's because we're all drunk together. I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, not only do I love New Orleans, I love the people of New Orleans and the cuisine and the food of New Orleans. I mean, there's just everything about the town is awesome. But
didn't you do a Ninth Ward tour?
You don't want to spend more than a week there because it starts to hurt.
Didn't you? Because this was post Katrina.
Yes.
Didn't you do a tour? Didn't you say, hey, I'm going to go on a tour of the Ninth Ward or something like that, or the 11th Ward or whatever it was, the one that was underwater?
So I had plans to do that. And I had a friend of mine who had another friend who was a local who drove me around. It wasn't an official tour, but a guy who lives there showed me, like, you know, because Katrina in downtown, you're a tourist here at the Super Bowl, New Orleans. It was all scrubbed and cleaned up at that point in time. But
they paid the mayor of New Orleans before that Super Bowl, paid for a cleanup, then did an inspection 3 weeks before the Super Bowl, and the quarter still stunk. And so then he paid like millions extra to have a Disneyland level cleanup, so that they literally like repaved roads and, like, you know, I mean, literally made it. They cleaned all the vomit and all the everything up.
A buddy of mine took me to this has not been sanitized for your consumption, New Orleans, and the devastation was still. I mean, it looked like the place had been hit by a hurricane and had been 10 feet underwater. I mean, it was amazing the amount of damage that was still there, but. Look, you know, they'll even tell you, they'll let the entire state of Louisiana burn before any element of any destruction comes to that French Quarter. That French Quarter is the number one economic motivator of the entire city. And they will have other neighborhoods die in the name of protecting the French Quarter. It's so valuable to New Orleans. And it is an incredible place. It's a special place. And there is no better place to host a Super Bowl. I'm sorry, Las Vegas.
We ate so well there. We ate so well. Do you remember that one place we went where it was like a bar that was slowly rotating the entire
the carousel bar? Yeah, the carousel bar.
I mean, it's just like, that was sweet. We had some amazing meals there too.
So the night that I was in there, I don't know if I was, because I was in there a couple of times, or this could have been, I've been back to New Orleans. Maybe I'm confusing my trips now. But do you remember a celebrity that was in that bar?
I don't. What if you remind me?
This might have been another trip. But so as I was sitting at the carousel bar, Neil Patrick Harris, Doogie Howser, was there with a buddy.
Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
Yeah, no, but seriously, but Neil Patrick Harris is there, and
I think I think that was the same trip, but I don't think that was the same night.
He was waiting. He was literally waiting for a seat at the carousel bar. And I looked at him and I was like, Doogie, I love the show. Give me one more rotation and my seat is yours. So I gave up my seat to Neil Patrick Harris, and I timed it perfectly, because then when I walked out of the carousel bar, the lobby came to a halt. Like everybody in the lobby stopped in the carousel, whatever hotel that carousel bar is in, and walking through the lobby was Sir Paul McCartney.
Wow.
And Paul McCartney stops traffic like probably more thoroughly than any other living celebrity on planet Earth. I mean, everyone was like, holy shit, that's Paul McCartney. And we had just seen Beyonce. We had just seen all sorts. I mean, it's Super Bowl week. There's celebrities everywhere. There's celebrity, and then there's Paul McCartney. You know what I mean? Like there's a big difference.
Oh man, I had some incredible gumbo. I had we had the fried alligator, which was just absolutely amazing.
Tastes like chicken.
It tastes like chicken. It was like elite chicken nuggets. It was absolutely phenomenal. Big Bowl says, Larry, did you hear the report that the Eagles are interested in Jeremy Chin? The Niners need to get him before Philly. This is an interesting story. I put out a video on my Krug Show channel, which is approaching now 26,000 subs. We'll get there this weekend. By the way, 1 week after we crested the 25,000 hill, we're going to get to 26,000. It's been a big week. But I did a whole video this week on Jeremy Chin is the guy that the 49ers need to trade for at the trade deadline. Jeremy Chin can play nickel corner, safety, or linebacker. The Eagles badly want him. In my mind, he'd be the perfect guy to defend Travis Kelce if you got into a Niners-Chiefs Super Bowl rematch. He's fallen out of favor. He was really one of Steve Wilkes' favorite defenders a year ago.
I was about to say, he knows Steve Wilkes' defense like the back of his hand.
And Wilkes loves to blitz, and this guy could play the nickel corner spot. He could play safety. He could play linebacker. He would cover you in a bunch of spots. You could go to a 3 safety look. You could go to a kind of a bigger look with him as a nickel corner. You could go to a speed package with him as a third linebacker and a base. I mean, there's all kinds of creative things you could do there. He's fallen out of favor in Carolina to the point where they're saying the asking price is only a 4th and a 6th. If I'm John Lynch, I call Scott Fitterer tomorrow and I offer my 3rd round draft choice. This guy's on his rookie contract. So he doesn't, all these Niner fans saying, hey, roll that money over.
Right?
It's not going to cost you a lot of money.
Right.
Not going to cost you a lot of money. He's a great player. We're talking about 6'3", 220, runs 4.41, freak of nature athlete. To me, especially when you look at the trade deadline, that'll be Halloween. You have all of November, all of December, and all of January before the Super Bowl even gets here. So there's injuries all the time in the NFL. A guy like Chin would keep you covered at nickel, at linebacker, and at safety. So you have versatility there. I think he's the perfect addition. I would try to jump Howie Roseman and the Eagles, jump the line by offering my 3rd round pick and maybe even something else. To me, Damon, I know people talk about Brian Burns and Patrick Surtain, and they'd be awesome. I'd love to have those guys. But to me, the one guy, if I can add one guy to get me over the crest of the hill to that 6th Lombardi, I want Jeremy Chin from Carolina. And now I'm reading this morning the Eagles want him. And, of course, they want him because they lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Avonte Maddox is hurt. They've got nobody at nickel corner, and their defense is getting roasted a little bit on the back end. Keep Chin from Philly, Lynch, and go get Jeremy Chin.
Again,
that's the guy I want to see them at.
Not only is it a move that you make that helps you and buys you insurance at 3 different positions, but it also prevents your probably biggest competition from making a similar move. I would do it. Like I told you, I am not an F them picks type of, analyst, journalist, broadcast, whatever we are. I'm not
editorialist.
Picks matter. You don't want to give away
picks
all
matter.
your picks,
especially your first when Trent Williams is older and you're going to need to find a tackle. So you don't want to trade your 1, but you don't need to trade your 1 to get Jeremy Chin.
I would do that deal, Larry. I would I will give you a 3rd for him.
Yeah, I would too.
I would do that.
Let's do this. Last Friday when we did our show, we opened up the lines. And I've put the link in the chat a couple times.
Here we go.
And it always just like last week. It's like Kev and I do a Wednesday night call-in show, and Damon, it always works out this way. First part of the show, as soon as we put the link in the chat, it's like we don't get calls right away. It's like it comes later, like we saw last week, where all of a sudden there's like, we're getting no calls, and then 7 people are waiting to jump in. So let's do this. I just put it in the stream. It's in the chat. There's several links in the chat. Just click that link, and we'll take your video calls right now. First come, first serve. So whoever, we will go to you in the order that you appear in the green room. When you get to our green room, don't be eating all of our food and drinking all of our booze back there, all right? And there's no smoking in the green room, all right? I just want you guys to know that. No smoking in the green room.
No smoking cigarettes in the green room.
Yeah, it's like the old Motley Crue song, no smoking in the boys' room. There's no smoking in the green room.
I'll say this, Larry. I do hope some people call in and want to talk about this Niner game, because guess what? This weekend of football in the NFL kind of sucks. It really does.
Does it? I haven't even really studied it. Let me take a look at that.
It's the first unimpressive weekend of the year. Lions at Buccaneers has an argument for the premier game of the week, only because we got a little NFC who will stay in the conversation as one of the better NFC teams, along with the 49ers and Eagles. Lions and Buccaneers
a stinker.
Yeah,
God, this is bad.
Yeah,
the only good game that I see.
Chargers Monday Night Football is the who could fade faster bowl, but that's it.
Chiefs Broncos was a snooze last night. I would say maybe Seahawks Bengals is maybe the best matchup,
without a doubt.
There's Panthers Dolphins.
Cardinals Rams matters because it's a division game, but the Cardinals have the blooms off their rose now at 1-4.
Pats Raiders with McDaniels against Belichick, maybe.
Yep. Bears Vikings in a game that no one should have to watch.
Giants Bills was a Super Bowl rematch from way back. Yeah, that's a bad week of ball.
It's Tyrod Taylor in the New York Giants going up against the Bills. So Daniel Jones isn't even playing in that one. It's ugly. It's an ugly weekend for the NFL. And look, if they could flex 49ers to Sunday night, they would have. They just can't do it yet this year.
Let's hit a couple of the supers here because we got some people. G-Code Travels Vlog says, will Lynch make a trade with his buddy Rand Carthon? That's the general manager of the Tennessee Titans. Who do you want on the Titans? Who do the Titans have? D-Hop? No, you don't want. I mean, D-Hop. Andre Dillard? No, he's been terrible. Derrick Henry? They don't need him. Could you imagine if the Niners had Derrick Henry? Harold Landry, maybe, an edge rusher. Get Azeez Al-Shaair back. Sean Murphy Bunting, maybe. Kevin Byard. I don't know. I don't see a natural fit there. Maybe Sean Murphy Bunting, another corner. I don't see that happening. I don't see them being a big trade partner for the Niners. We got this one. Clarence Beeks, member for 16 months. He says, pig in a pickle for lunch, Uncle Boys for dinner. Look at that.
There you go.
That. There's a guy who knows our sponsors. Hey, Damon, shout out your sponsors while you're here.
Well, let me tell you, after you eat like that, pick up an acai bowl at Palmetto Superfoods. You're going to need a little cleanse at that point. But, look, bottomlinebets.com. Use promo code Damon for a free day of handicapping. I got another promo code, DamonBruce10 at JacksSF.com. Coolest vintage T-shirts you're going to find anywhere, Larry. You can get all your Christmas shopping done. Current teams, defunct teams, teams that are long gone, but great memories, cool throwback stuff. Go to jackssf.com. Use promo code DamonBruce10 for 10% off there. And eat at Ike's. The sandwiches are delicious.
Yeah, of course, the sponsors of the Krug Show, Pig in a Pickle, New York-style Italian sausage, and Marin Auto Glass. And also, obviously, you're seeing the wrap around the show today, Palmetto Superfoods. Go to Palmetto Superfoods, and when you walk in there, get yourself an acai bowl and tell them that Damon and Larry sent you. You know, that absolutely it would help out the show to go in there and not just I'm sure many of you have tried it. Take a picture, send it to us, and we'll put it out on the show. We'll put your picture up on the show.
We'll blow it up.
Yeah, we'll blow it up. But tell the people behind the counter that Damon and Larry sent you to Palmetto Superfoods, and there are a bunch around Northern California. So check that out.
And Larry, again, your channel is just growing fabulously. Congratulations on all the benchmarks and milestones. This week has been the most watched week in the history of my channel, including Wednesday, which was the most watched day in the history of my channel in terms of videos viewed. So I thank everyone. And look, if you're following Larry, I hope you would also consider following me too. We're about 14 subscriptions away from 8,500. We're growing. I want to be at 10,000 before before Thanksgiving kicks off. That's my goal. I would love to be at 10,000 before Thanksgiving. That's a big goal. It's a lot of addition, but I think we can do it because Niner fans have been responding to what you and I have been doing, and we're doing more and more. And I know that when Warriors start going, Larry, that's going to give us more opportunities to work together. People are clamoring for what you and I have, which is experience and the ability to put a show in the one place that people are now going for their shows more than ever before, man. I mean, sports talk radio, good luck. YouTube is officially the biggest sports talk radio station in history. So you and I are just going to do it over here from now on. And it's been an awful lot of fun. It's very satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, it's the beauty of YouTube. YouTube is a growth proposition for sure. Bazzy Mian says, which offense has more potential or is more explosive? Shanahan's 2016 Falcons offense with Matt Ryan or the current 2023 49er offense with Brock Purdy? Well, I will say this. The Shanahan offense of 2016, I believe, is to this day the record holder for first down yardage. I think that team averaged 8.2 yards on first down. So they were looking at 2nd and 1 and 2nd and 2 all season long. They had Matt Ryan, Tony Gonzalez, Tevin Coleman, and who was the other back with Coleman that they had? And they also had they had Julio Jones. So that was a hell of a team. This team, I think, might be
Ward. They had Mohamed Sanu was on that team.
It's who's not Weatherspoon? Who was the other back with Tevin Coleman? I forget the other back. Somebody will remember in the chat. But I think it was something like Weatherspoon.
Teron Ward.
No, it wasn't Teron. Well, he might have been there too.
He was on the team.
Yeah, the other guy was the Florida State back, Devontae Freeman. It was Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman in the backfield.
Yes.
They had Julio Jones. They had Tony Gonzalez. They had the MVP of the league in the quarterback, Matt Ryan. This team, though, has Debo and Kittle and Ayuk and Purdy playing at this MVP level, and all Trent Williams at left tackle. And I mean, I would probably say that this offense is a little bit more unstoppable. That offense, though, was maybe a quicker strike offense than this. Did they have Roddy White? Somebody says Roddy White. Always drip 805 says Roddy White. Yeah, I mean, they were big time. No question about that. That was a tremendous team. We got this one from It's Vito, baby. Hey, it's Vito. He says, I feel like what will happen is that we'll trade a 3rd and a 5th for Chin. Then we'll pick up Jordan Willis again and add him to the practice squad. I'd do it. I love that idea, Vito. I absolutely would. But I think Jordan Willis is on the Raiders practice squad.
I was about to say, where is Jordan Willis right now?
He was signed by the Raiders, cut by the Raiders in August, and now he's on the Raiders practice squad, I think.
So who are you cutting from the current roster to add Jordan Willis? Because if you poach another team's practice squad, you have to put him on your roster.
Right.
So,
I mean, you might. I mean, if you ask me, I would rather have Jordan Willis than Cleveland Farrell. No, right. I think Jordan Willis faster than Cleveland Farrell, but Cleveland Farrell's also effective, and he's an effective guy. He just doesn't have speed. He can't really beat you to the edge, but he's useful. But if I think if you want to say what would be the dominant piece to put opposite Bosa, it's a speed rusher. And that's why I think Randy Gregory is going to unearth all kinds of havoc because, it's kind of like I was talking about this earlier today with Jack Hammer. if you looked at the Eagles line last year, that the guy who ended Purdy's year, who was
Reddick?
the defense? Reddick, Hassan Reddick. Is Hassan Reddick the best defensive end in football? No. But what he is maybe at 237 pounds, maybe the fastest.
Yeah,
he flies. And on that team that had Hargrave and Fletcher Cox and Josh Sweat, to have that speed element made their line so hard to handle. And I really believe that Gregory and a guy like Willis, any speed element on a line that where you're doubling Bosa, you're doubling Hargrave, occasionally you got a combo Armstead. I think that speed guy who can really get the edge becomes like a major factor. Like if the Niners somehow, if they didn't get Jeremy Chin and they wanted to say, here's a second round pick for Brian Burns, I would do that too. Could you imagine Brian Burns off of one edge with Bosa off the other edge?
Yeah.
And that would be borderline unfair. That, you and I could play corner at that point.
I don't know about that, but
GR Gracie says, guys, Purdy is a man of God. He's getting married this summer. Do you think after he finally gets some, it will step up his game or kill his edge? LOL. Something tells me he's probably already gotten some. That's just my guess. Now we're going there, by the way. We got this one from Mick. Mick E says, 49ers need to get either Jeremy Chin or Brian Burns quick. I don't know that they need anything, to be honest, right now. But when you look at how good Philly is, Howie Roseman is an aggressive executive, and he is going to do everything in his power to improve Philadelphia's hand of cards. And Kansas City knows they're in their Super Bowl window. They're going to do the same. And Buffalo knows they're in the Super Bowl window, and they're going to do more of the same. And there's 4 or 5 teams who are really bad this year, and everybody wants Caleb Williams. So I think you're going to see teams at the bottom of the NFL really tank and trying to get that elite quarterback. And we've already seen Miami. Miami's Jalen Ramsey, they wanted him, they got him. Chase Claypool, they wanted him, he was available, they got him. I mean, Miami's been hyper aggressive on the trade market. So I just think this is the year to load up. And, let's be honest. When the Niners last won the Super Bowl in 1994, what did Carmen Policy do? He loaded up. He got Dion. He got Plummer, Norton, and they went for it. Look, the Niners in '89 loaded up.
At what point, Larry, are the Minnesota Vikings going to say, we're good? And is there anyone on this Vikings team that you think you could go plummeting or rooting through? I mean, Marcus
Danielle Hunter. I mean, definitely Danielle Hunter. And a lot of people have suggested Booth, Andrew Booth, the former Clemson corner, could be available. So both those guys would be Marcus Davenport. I mean, the 3 guys you'd be looking at, Danielle Hunter, Marcus Davenport, and maybe Andrew Booth Jr., former Clemson corner. Second-round pick. He's had some injuries, but he's really, really intriguing. All right, we got a call. We go to Chris Barber. What's up, Chris?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, fellas?
How are you?
Hey, we're doing great. Where are you calling from?
Covington, Virginia. Calling from Covington, Virginia.
I'm telling you, we're big in Virginia right now. We carry that state. If this were an election, we'd carry the state. What's going on? You a big Niner fan out there?
Oh, yeah, lifelong Niner fan. I actually used to live in California a long time ago when I was little. I think that's where my Ninerism come from. But I've been there through the good years and the bad, and it's back to good. So I'm happy about that. What I wanted to talk about was I wanted to know why is it that some people in the media fail to give Brock Purdy his proper flowers? Is it because of the Mr. Irrelevant thing, or is it really because he would change the way QBs are evaluated in the draft process?
Damon, go ahead. Give your theory first.
Where I think it starts is you got a whole bunch of people who just can't say the simplest words in the English language. I was wrong. There are a lot of people who planted their flag in the I don't believe in him. I believe in the other guy. I'm in the other guy's camp. And no one wanted to use any real data points coming back to them to change their mind. People who know football were looking at Brock Purdy through a different lens quickly. They're like, all right, well, we know the starting point, which is unimpressive, but everything that we're seeing on the field is impressive. Maybe we need to rethink this. And there were a lot of people who didn't want to rethink it. They just wanted to think they were right, football was wrong, and Trey Lance, I already bought the goddamn Trey Lance jersey, so I don't want to be wrong about that. I think that is part of it. And look, drafting is an inexact science. And Purdy has proven this implicitly. And we get so enamored with measurable physical traits, whether they be 40 times or arm strength or hand size or, just physical specimens, that we forget that the most important thing is right here. Knowing the game, processing it quickly, seeing it and feeling it. And Purdy has that. All the things that are hard to measure, he's got a lot of. All the things that are easy to measure, he doesn't quite measure up with the very, very best. And I just think you got people who get lost in things that they can measure and they fail to evaluate the things that really matter, looking for a specific body type.
Yeah, I think I agree with Damon on that one. I just think that it's just one of those things where the things that make Brock great are his work ethic, the chip on his shoulder that he plays with, his intelligence, his processing, his accuracy, his heart. The guy's got tremendous heart, mental fortitude. Dusty Gold says mental fortitude. You can see 6'4", right? You can see the howitzer of an arm, but you can't see competitive fire. You almost have to talk to a guy to realize where he's at competitive wise. I mean, I asked him yesterday. I was down there yesterday. I said, it seems like you play the game with a chip on your shoulder. How do you keep that chip on the shoulder? And he's like, well, Shanahan and Greasy and these guys are always telling me things that I did wrong and things I could do better. And so I'm chasing perfection at all times. And so, it's like if you chase perfection and you work at it, I think that's a big part of it. Here's the latest, though. Watch this one. I'm going to share the screen here. This is the latest from today. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is Shannon Sharp on ESPN from earlier today. Here it is right here for those who haven't seen this. This is him talking to Ryan Clark. A little Shannon Sharp disrespect on Purdy.
But is he really an elite quarterback, or is it just the situation he's in?
No, he's not an elite quarterback. He's a product of the system. It's more credit to Kyle Shanahan and what he's done. He's not, and RC, you'll appreciate this. In the biblical term, the devil told God that Job, the reason why he serves you is because you give everything to him. He said if you remove that hedge from around him, he will curse his very maker.
He'll curse you.
He said you can take everything but his life. Took his kid, took his sheep, took all that. Job was still faithful.
Never cursed him.
I'm not so sure that if we remove Debo, we remove Kyle Shanahan, we removed Ayuk, we would still see this Brock Purdy. He's a product of the system. Now, that's not to take away from what he's doing. It's okay for him to be in the MVP discussion and not be Patrick Mahomes or not be Tua or not be an elite quarterback. He still has to go out there and operate. He just doesn't have to do as much as, say, those other guys. If I were to put him in Patrick Mahomes, if I switch places and says, okay, you got to go do what Patrick Mahomes does, or you got to go do what one of these other quarterbacks, I'm not so sure Brock Purdy could do that.
All right. Well, here's what I would say to that, guys, and I don't know how you feel about this, but Andy Reid is, last I checked, pretty good system in his own right. Mike McDaniel's got a pretty good system. And, Mahomes has Kelsey. He had Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins have Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert and Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs have Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, we're not talking about these. Every team's got good weapons. If you got a great offense, odds are you got a great head coach, a great system, and great weapons. So I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Brock Purdy, they know his draft status, and they can't get beyond it. And also, he doesn't physically, you look at him and you're like, he's not 6'4", he's 6 feet and change. He's 6'1", maybe. He doesn't have that incredible looking athleticism. But if you watch him and you looked at his combine workout, he had a 1.55 10-yard split. That was literally 1/100th of a second slower than Lamar Jackson. It's only a couple of ticks slower than Tyreek Hill himself. So Brock Purdy actually has elite escapability that nobody really sees. And it just, you don't, and then as Damon said, the processing ability is off the charts. And really, Alex Smith said it best this summer. He said all these traits with quarterbacks, the ones that matter the most, processing, timing, and accuracy. And Brock Purdy's got that down. He's got the processing, the timing, and the accuracy. The ball, he knows where to go with the ball. The ball comes out on time, and he puts it on the hands.
Here's what I want to know.
That's kind of what it's about.
Here's what I want to know. What's for dinner tonight in Virginia? What's going on in Virginia for dinner tonight? That's what I care about.
We're going with a good old spaghetti tonight in Virginia. One
Nice.
last thing, fellas, before I'll let you go, let somebody else get on here. I wonder if the faith-based thing is an issue too. It seems like the league ran Tim Tebow out for bringing God back in there, and Brock Purdy has a strong belief in his faith, and I believe that. I think that scares a lot of people.
God, that would be so unfortunate if that's the case. I mean, think about what you just said there. People are scared by his faith in God. I mean,
Look,
come on.
It's crazy.
If you're scared about players demonstrating their faith, football's the wrong sport for you. That's the most churched up sport you're going to find. So I would hope that doesn't have anything to do with it. As someone who's not particularly very religious myself, certainly not outward projecting.
Damon believes strongly in NFLism.
Yeah, I'm a believer in good defenses. I really am. That's just why I like the Niners this weekend. But no, I don't think it should come into a problem. And the truth is, I thought Tebow was more of a victim of just overall overexposure. There was a level of Tebow fatigue that even went beyond any concept of his faith. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'll take an at-bat for Tim Tebow anytime. That guy was a winner. He was a good person. I like Tim Tebow. He wasn't a very good quarterback. That's why he wasn't in the league. He wasn't a very good professional quarterback. He's the greatest goal line back in the history of the SEC, for goodness sakes. So I'm glad we get to talk a little Tim Tebow.
I love Florida State, and he used to kill us. I used to couldn't stand Tim Tebow. And one last thing, the guys on the morning roast, they was I don't know if one guy wasn't a particular fan of the 49ers, but they were saying that if we don't win the Super Bowl, but we found our franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, then 49ers fans should look at it as a win, which I say hogwash. It's time to win it all now. You know what I'm saying? It's time to bring home number 6.
But boy, a franchise quarterback, when you do find those, they tend to they last longer than just 1 year. So I get what they're saying, but yeah, the dreams of what might come down the road have been completely replaced by the shit you need to do right now in this year. And that's where everyone's mind needs to be. What was your name again?
Chris Barber.
Chris Barber.
It was awesome.
Check me out. I got a YouTube too, so check me out.
Well, tell us your YouTube channel. We'll shout it out right here, Chris. What is it?
It's Chris Barber with a K, K-R-I-S on YouTube. Simple. Just Chris Barber.
Nice.
It's me.
Chris, I'll say this too. There's that old saying, the moral advantages of losing have been greatly exaggerated. You know what I mean?
Thanks, fellas.
So, hey, Chris, have a great Friday, man. Go Niners.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Go Niners, baby.
Take care, Chris Barber. See, that's what I love about the video calls is,
I feel like we were just hanging out on his front porch with him. We were just kicking it outside and spending a lovely evening in Virginia. A nice Friday night in Virginia. That was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's and it also kind of goes to show, I mean, there's a guy who's, dialed into the Niners, our YouTube, and local radio. So, like, the world has changed where it's not like radio used to be local and only people listened local. If you from being on the radio, Damon, you open up the phone lines, and it's like, somebody's in San Jose, somebody's in San Francisco, and then the next person's in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's like technology has brought it to the point where it used to be if you were a Niner fan, you moved to wherever USA, you probably had to adopt one of those teams. But not anymore. Not anymore. Now it's like whatever team is your team, can continue being your team. Whatever media you want to surround yourself with, you can surround yourself with, whether you're in Manhattan, Kansas, or Manhattan, New York. It doesn't matter.
Larry,
Beautiful.
proximity is dead. You don't need to be close to something to be very close to something anymore. And that is, it's the beauty of the internet age. I mean, you can consume what you want on a local level from very, very far away. And that's what's cool about all this. It really is.
iHeartRadio. Okay, so we'd love to get a couple more calls before we jet. We're an hour and 19 minutes in. We got almost 400 people hanging in the room on my side, probably another couple hundred on Damon's side. Give us your predictions. Give us your predictions on Niners Browns coming up this weekend. And I put the link in the stream. I don't care if you're in Waco. I don't care if you're in Chicago, Philly, New York, Boston. If you're in Cupertino, California, if you're walking down the street in Downey, California, I don't care where you are. Jump into the stream and let's get a few more video calls going, because I love video calls. It's maybe my favorite part about doing the YouTube is video calls, because it's like when you take calls, it's fun. But Jim Molay, my fraternity brother from Sac State, Jimmy, by the way, congratulations to Jim Molay. Sounds like Jimmy's getting hitched.
Oh,
Jimmy's getting hitched.
It looks like he was a late holdout.
Jimmy, in that picture, he looks very much like Fidel Castro, but he's getting hitched. Jimmy, congrats, brother.
Congratulations, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy's great. Jimmy's absolutely the man. But I don't care where you're calling from. There's something about the video calls and people jumping in on the video calls that is so cool.
Larry, let's be totally honest. Since the station that used to use it gave up one of the biggest brands ever, maybe it's time it's official. The two greatest hosts the show has ever had bring back Sports Phone.
Sports Phone.
Maybe we bring back Sports Phone. We call Sports iPhone, Sports Video Phone. I know something, modernize it just a little bit, but
Sports Phone. That's right. That's right.
It's time we bring it back, folks. We're bringing back Sports Phone.
All right, chat. Now we have the controversial question that breaks up Damon and I. Who was the better host of Sports Phone 680, Damon or me?
Ray Woodson was better than both of us.
If somebody says Damon the Dog Perry, you're fucking fired. GSU for life says, hey, Krug, I miss you on KMBR. I used to call in after every Niners game and talk about the alcohol I drank. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that there was probably – all I got to say is this, GSU. You probably made some radio executive very nervous. He's talking about the alcohol he drank. Get him off. Get him off. Get him off. Oh, man. All right, well,
Sports Phone was satellite radio. KNBR at night was satellite radio before there was even satellite radio. I remember being on KNBR and getting calls. I used to do the segment called Check the Power. Check the Power of the Tower. The person who calls me from the furthest away.
Yes, I did that too.
Yeah, I'll send you a giant pocket schedule. That's how old this was. Remember how you used to have a pocket schedule you'd keep in a fold in your wallet? God, we're old. Good Lord. Call me from Wyoming. I'll mail you a pocket schedule. That's
Hello 65 says breaking. Farhan Zaidi is hiring himself as manager. Sources tell ESPN. Susan Slusser on it first. I would die to see Farhan in uniform.
I hope that's a joke. That's got to be. By the way,
be a joke.
Who is going to be the next manager of the Giants?
Wow. They just interviewed Mark Hallberg, and the talk is they want to interview their old hitting coach,
Henry Mullins.
No. What's the other guy's name? I could look it up here. Lind, is that his name? Dustin Lind? Not sure.
I don't know.
No. Veely. Justin Veely.
Veely, that's going to be the hire? You Veely serious about that? Better not be.
Justin Veely. Yeah, they interviewed Mark Hallberg, their third base coach, which sounds like a total Giants thing to do. Mark Hallberg.
Hey, good guy. Give him an interview rep. I got no problem with that. If he's the hire, we're going to have a problem with that.
I mean, why not Wotus? Why not Ron Wotus? The Giants situation.
By the way, Larry, I did have a little conversation yesterday. I had Tim Kawakami on my channel, and he brought up something that he thought, again, he was the first one to the talking point, and there might be something to it. As we're getting ready for a Warriors season starting here, he thinks that there's a very good chance that both Klay Thompson and Steve Kerr could get contract extensions before this year starts.
I was listening a little bit yesterday to some radio driving back from Santa Clara. They were suggesting that Klay Thompson may sign a 3 or 4 year deal for $30 to $35 million per year. Now, maybe call me Debbie Downer if you want. I think the Warriors championship run is over. I think it's over. There's younger, better teams. They're not going to. Chris Paul is not, taking out Jordan Poole and adding Chris Paul is not going to make them beat the Denver Nuggets. There's a bunch of young, up and coming teams in the West. I just don't see it. It's going to take a perfect trip. And they're just too old. They're too damn old. This idea that they want to go to the finish line with Steph, Dre, and Klay, it's like, that's fine. You want to go to the finish line with Steph, Dre, and Klay? Do it. God bless you. But just acknowledge that you're not winning shit. You're not winning titles. You're not. You're just not. I do not believe the Warriors will have any more titles with Steph, Klay, and Dre as the primary guys. I think this is the last year. This is the last year they'll be able to knock on the windowsill. But yeah, the window is probably closed. They've kept it off. They've kept it open longer than anyone could have imagined. Chris Paul, I'll give him this. He's never made a team worse. But in a more athletic, faster-paced league than we've ever seen before in our lives, getting old and smart is a hard way to go through it. I mean, if the Warriors lead the NBA in good decisions every single night that they play, they'll have a good seed. But that doesn't mean they're going to be frisky enough to win a title still once a playoff series starts, or maybe they're smart enough to win that. But this is it. This is whatever the train was, this is the caboose. This is the last year of any really believing you might be able to win a title. I do believe after this year, it's all wishful thinking, but they were a 6 seed last year.
We might have said
44 and 38.
We might have said this, Larry, the year that they beat Boston. I mean, I didn't think that was going to happen, and that happened. The Warriors have officially earned the benefit of the doubt. But one day, and I don't know when that day is, hopefully it doesn't show up this year, but one day it'll be very obvious, holy shit, these guys are old.
They're old now.
It's going to happen overnight. But you'll be
Their
able
starting lineup is Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green. That's ancient. Those guys are old.
Yeah.
And the NBA is a war of attrition. It's like you play all the time. The season starts on Halloween and ends at 4th of July. I mean, what are the odds that they're going to even get to the playoff month of May with a fully intact squad? They're going to lose all kinds of games. Draymond's already hurt. They're going to need to rest Klay. They're going to need to rest Paul. They're going to need to rest Curry. And then, I mean, how are they going to look the only way the Warriors are going to be really good this year is if Jonathan Kuminga becomes a star. That's the only way.
Right.
If Jonathan Kuminga becomes a star, then he might be able to elevate them. They added Dario Saric, but he's had a major knee injury. He doesn't move nearly as fluidly. They added Corey Joseph. He's older. Pajemski, Usman Garuba, Trace Jackson Davis. That's not getting you by Sacramento. That's not getting you by Denver. That's not I don't know. I mean, if they get the perfect trip and they can rest their guys appropriately all year long and they can get to May, I mean, don't you think it's going to take full health?
Oh yeah.
The Warriors are not going to get there without if they lose Draymond or Steph or Clay or Paul for the year. I don't see it happening.
Oh, look,
and they're literally trying to drive across country on a 15-year-old car with 150,000 miles on it. Good luck. You might make it, you might not.
Their margin for error is almost non-existent. Their margin for injury is almost non-existent. And getting into their depth chart, it looks pretty deep right now, but it would shallow out quickly with an injury or two to a key player. You can say that about any NBA team, but no, it's let's see it. I mean, that's the thing. This is one grand experiment from a team that knows how to do it. I see your friend Jim Mole is saying not unless they get big somehow. The one thing that the Warriors are doing that I actually like is they're embracing the fact we don't do bigs. That's not who we are. We're a small ball team. We're going to try to run you out of the gym, which is going to be interesting with a group of guys in their late 30s. So let's see if they can do that. But yeah,
if they could move Chris Paul's $30 million if they could move Chris Paul for a younger piece, to me, Chris Paul is kind of like D'Angelo Russell. It's like D'Angelo Russell was just the piece that got you Wiggins and Kuminga. If you could turn Chris Paul into two younger players, then maybe you got a shot. But if you can't, I don't think you got a shot. Derek Smith's in the house, driving as he goes with the shades on. Derek, where are you calling from?
I'm old Captain Insano. I'm in the Sandusky, Ohio.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, okay. What's going on? Captain Insano. How are you?
Incredible hair. I'm supporting the hair. Whatever you're doing, it's working. Never stop.
Yeah, seriously.
It's been a long time growing it out, but it's a pain in the ass sometimes. But anyways, this Browns team, I love having the Niners on always a 4:00 game here, and then the Browns are on at 1, so I can I can watch both. And they are just a mess. Every year it's like, oh, we're going to be good. Here we go again. And the real fans around here, that's my second favorite team. They cannot put it together ever. And the offense every week, you think, oh, they're getting on track. Deshaun had a good game against Tennessee, and then something happens. This is weird out here. The local media kind of talks a little about it, and something's going on besides a shoulder injury. It just seems awfully weird. It's something.
He was like getting closer to playing, and now he's closer to not playing.
Yeah, the one thing that Tony Grossi said that I thought was a little odd was that, he went into the bye week hurt, and he hasn't thrown a ball in 3 weeks, but he's more hurt now than when he was going into the bye week. How do you hurt yourself with no activity? What happened? It does sound a little weird. But really, look, every element of the Deshaun Watson era since the last year he was likable in Texas has been pretty freaking weird, to be honest with you. So who knows, man? Who knows? They looked like they were building a really good team, and then they just added someone who brought in a lot of bad karma. And I know we sound like a couple California mamby-pambies talking about football karma, but I don't know. There is something to it, man. And there's also this. The Cleveland Browns suck. Kind of, always. Like, that's who they are. It's hard to shake that feeling or that identity. It really is. It's like
I blame Sonny Weaver. Sonny Weaver.
I don't even know who it is, but I'll take it.
That's the Sonny Weaver was the guy. It was Kevin Costner. He played the general manager in draft day of the Browns.
Oh, God.
That's right.
Yeah.
What a movie.
Captain Insano, do you do any semi-pro wrestling? You look like you might have hit a turnbuckle or two with your forehead in your life.
Yeah, I wish. I do still watch it though. I'm still a little kid at heart, that's why I enjoy Kittle's love of the wrestling. So it all fits together very nicely.
Nice, man. Well, good to see you, Larry. I get nervous when we talk to people driving. The worst thing is someone's going to get into an accident talking to a couple of yahoos like you and me. But Insano, thanks for dipping in twice today, man. And never, ever cut your hair. Promise us right now, never cut the hair.
Never cut the hair.
I want it. It's going to fall out eventually. I'm 35. I don't have many years left with no gray yet. Florida.
Hey, do me one other favor. Never wear Niner gear and have the man bun.
That's probably what I'm gonna do. I'm going to the game Sunday, so it's probably gonna happen.
Uh-oh.
Hey, enjoy yourself Sunday, man. Thanks for chiming in.
All right, man. We'll do. Thanks for all the content. You guys are great.
Thanks, man.
Captain Insano.
That's awesome. Chris Taggart is with us. Hey, Chris, where are you calling from?
Woo, what's up, guys? I'm calling from sunny Cleveland, Ohio. I'm
Yeah, we're big in Ohio today.
I'm San Jose, born and raised, though. Go Monarchs. Sorry.
Nice.
Living out here, though, living the easy life. The real estate's a little bit more affordable out here.
How's it? Where are you in Bay Shore, Ohio? You up there on the North Shore, baby?
Yeah, beautiful Cleveland Heights, right where the Kelseys are from, actually.
There you go.
Nice.
But
so
yeah, I'm going to the game
what
too.
What motivated you to call in today?
You guys just got me all hyped up. I'm just excited to enjoy the game on Sunday. I'm a little nervous, actually. Gonna have to politely golf clap and not get myself into any trouble with any of the Browns fans. But think it's gonna be not quite as rainy as it initially seems, but at least that's what I'm hoping for.
Do I hear a little girl singing in the background?
I got my little man back here.
Little guy. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. How old is the little guy?
Wait a minute. Wait. Now I'm really nervous, Larry. We got someone driving, talking to us, a distracted driver with a kid in a car. We got
and a sunroof.
We can't take this call. Eyes forward. Protect that kid. It's more important than talking to me or Larry.
No. Wait a second. Let's get to the more important details. You're raising that kid as a Niner fan, right?
Yes, sir.
There you go. Good
Yeah,
man. Good man.
He's got his little Bosa jersey he's going to wear on Sunday.
That's awesome.
That's right. There's a lot of Ohio State fans, still loving Bosa in there. It's going to be, dude, Niners fans travel well. This is a big game for the Yorks as well, being from Youngstown. This is like a personal game for the Yorks. So
how far is Youngstown from Cleveland?
It's about an hour. So they'll be out there.
Nice. Well, hey, man, give me your prediction on the game. What's going to be the final?
I'm thinking maybe a couple missed field goals. It's going to be real windy, whether it rains or not. So I'm thinking 28-14 is my guess, I think.
Nice.
That's a cover.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, Chris, we'll let you go and get on with your Friday. Congrats on the little man back there, raising him as a Niner fan in Ohio. Thanks for jumping in. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Love it.
Take care, man. Thank you very much, Larry. Don't take any more phone calls from people driving cars. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Dazzo says, how did Deshaun Watson drop off so much? He used to be a top 5 quarterback. Legal issues don't stop ability. I don't know. That's a good question. What happened to Deshaun?
I would say he's been yanked off his path for greatness.
Oh, that's not good. And why, when you're a good-looking young professional athlete, why do you gotta be, creepy guy at the massage parlor? Let's go to Ryan Crowley, who's in the house. Ryan, how are you, bro?
What's up, Krug? What's up, guys?
How are you, Ryan?
Ryan, where are you calling from?
I'm actually in Vegas. It sounds like there's a lot of people from Vegas out here. I live in Vegas now. Yeah. I listen to you guys' show all the time. And Krug, I listen to you every day.
Thanks, man.
It's hard to watch some of these other shows, NFL Network and stuff in the morning. You can pretty much, exactly what they're going to say every time they open their mouth. It's like, same old shit, never going to get it. Kyle Shanahan this. And the fans are kind of mimicking it. It's crazy.
It is. There is a lack of original thinking that has gone on in the media. And I mean, I can tell you what Shannon Sharp was going to say before he even said it, and the whole nonsense of the system, quarterbacks. I mean, they said the exact same thing about Tom Brady, for God's sakes.
Yeah, and then you go to the next show, and then the hour later, and then you go to Stephen A. Smith, and he spews the same shit, and then Skip Bayless, and I mean, everybody knows what Skip Bayless is going to say. It's easy to fucking predict whatever's coming out of his mouth. Part of my language.
Sure.
And then the Good Morning America. It's just hard to find good quality 49er content. And then when you go into those chat rooms on Facebook or whatever, it's just everybody copies and pastes the same nonsense, and it's crazy.
We got a guy, Ryan. We got a guy in the chat who says Texas Niner says this guy reminds me of Sylvester Stallone in the Trucker movie. Larry, ask him if he arm wrestles. When was the last time you arm wrestled, Ryan?
I don't think I have. 9 years, man. I used to play. I played sports up until college. I miss it. That's why I love football so much. And out here in Vegas, I know a lot of NFL players know one of my good friends out here, so I meet a lot of them. And then my buddy John Orlando, you know Tony Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay, his son's a really good friend of mine. He owns Sticky Paw Studios out here, so I'm always bumping into people there. And it's that's what I was gonna say. If you guys come out here for the Super Bowl, we'll get you a show over at Sticky Paws, and then we'll get your burgers. I own a pizza shop out here. We'll get you pizza and burgers, and we'll make it a fun time.
Are you delivering a pie right now?
Let's get the plug in.
Yeah, I'm delivering to some casinos. I have some casino accounts where I distribute my products to.
Nice. So, give a shout out your company. We'll give you some love on the channel.
It's called IDK Pizza over on Eastern and Windmill. It's a New York style. I'm from New York, so it's a New York style pizzeria. And my buddy owns Barcode Burgers over on Flamingo. He's always got podcasts going through there. UFC fighters always coming through, so it's a pretty popular spot.
Well, hey man, appreciate you supporting the channel. Damon's a good friend. Go support Damon Bruce Plus.
Go support everybody, man.
Yeah, he's fantastic. We're both doing a lot of Niner content, and stay off of the NFL Network, man.
Yeah, it's terrible. Dude.
Keep it over here. We got adult conversation with people who aren't just reading producer note cards. Here, say this. It'll trend.
Dusty Gold's asking if you deliver to Walnut Creek, California. I would say it's probably outside your territory.
It's outside the territory, without a doubt. I mean, I think it's going to be a cold pie when it gets there to Walnut Creek.
Love you, Rye. Have a good one, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you supporting the channel, man.
Take care, brother.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
That was cool.
Larry,
Let's go.
I gotta get bouncing, man. I gotta go running here on a Friday afternoon. I told Jillian I'd get a few things crossed off the honey-do list before the kids came home today. So, but Larry,
I love the video calls, man. It always puts me in a good frame of mind. I just love rapping with people. You do too. And it was really good to have
no more driving. We just can't do any more driving. Like,
I know.
That violates the YouTube terms of service agreement. Like it's like we're a menace to society by distracting drivers. So no more. Let's never take another driving call. But otherwise, yeah, talking to people's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. All right, that does it for Damon. I'm Larry. Have a great Friday afternoon. I'm going to stream at 3 o'clock with the great Jesse Sapolo. So 20 minutes from right now, I'll be back doing it again with Jesse. Damon, what do you got cooking on your channel between now and game day?
So I love Jesse Sapolo. That'll be great. I'll be able to pop in and watch you and the conversation that you're about to have with him in a little bit, Larry. Join me at the 2-minute warning. It's the most aggressive post-game show. We don't even wait for the game to end. The 2-minute warning is when I hope you'll join me on Damon Bruce Plus. And then, of course, Monday morning, it's me, it's Larry, it's 49ers Wake Up the day after 49er football. 8 a.m. here on YouTube. Be there. Thank you as always, Larry. Always a pleasure, man.
Peace. Have everybody a great Friday. Go Niners.